Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a tutorial on this cut crease slash shimmer ombre lid. I was totally inspired by my outfit. I just really wanted to use some shimmer colors that resembled my outfit, I guess. Inspiration comes in so many different forms. I used the Wild Child palette from BH Cosmetics. It looks like this. And the stunning 35V palette from Morphe looks like this right here. Love this palette. So yeah, if you guys want to see how I got this look, then just keep watching. And if you're new here, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell right next to it so you'll be notified of all of my future uploads. And I know that my phone is going to shut off any second, so without further ado, let's just get right on into it. Alright guys, I'm starting with priming my lids. I'm using the MAC Paint Pot in Soft Ochre as always. I'm taking it on a Heavenly Luxe Dual Airbrush Concealer from IT Cosmetics. It has a flat brush on one side and then a round domed kabuki on the other. Make sure that you place concealer everywhere that you're planning to place eyeshadow. Get it up to the eyebrow, to the inner corner and the outer, and set that primer with powder. All right, I just wanted to touch up with a little bit of bronzer because we're going to use this on our eyes. This is going to be our transition shade, halo shade, whatever it is you want to call it. I actually like using a bronzer up in this area, or to draw your crease, or to map it out, or however you want to use a bronzer up on your eyes, because when you use it on your face, it kind of ties the whole look together. And I literally bought so many bronzers this summer. I think I ended up with like 20, and then I got another 20 in all of my face palettes, so I have a whole bunch. And this is the KoKo collection. I don't know what this one was called. This is just the pressed to powder palette, but I just want to show you guys that like something like this, where you have these two highlights, I mean, you can literally use those as a pop on the inner corner. You can put it like in the center of your eyelid for a little pop of color. You can also use the blush as on your eyes. You can use the bronzer on your lid if it's a shimmery bronzer. If it's a matte, it looks great when it's up as sort of a halo transition shade, because it ties the look together. So yeah, lots of uses for bronzers. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna just map out my crease, and I'm gonna go ahead and draw the crease, and I'm gonna go over all that when I draw it, but I'm just gonna go ahead and map out the shape. So let's say you don't wanna draw your crease and you don't wanna put in a line, you just wanna map it out. If you have hooded eyes, because we're gonna take this crease, it's gonna go a couple millimeters above the natural crease. Take your bronzer, and I'm using the Kevyn Aucoin. This is called the Small Eyeshadow Soft Round Tip Brush. I just got it. And I'm gonna go ahead and kind of look straight ahead, see where that skin folds, and then I'm gonna go a couple millimeters above that and just lightly kind of map it out. I have very little color on my brush at all. I have hardly nothing. I'm just gonna map out this shape here. Okay, so it's going to look something like this. It's just going to be lightly mapped out. And I'm going to go ahead and draw the crease, but you can leave it like this and you can build on it. I just wanted to kind of show you how you can map out your crease using a bronzer or any light transition shade. I'm also going to take this bronzer now and I'm going to deepen it up a little bit. So I'm going to go and I'm just going to add this as a transition shade now. So now I've switched to a different blending brush. I'm going to use this Iconic London, which is a much larger blending brush. And I'm just going to go above that little line that I just made. And I'm going to start to blend it out. So now I'm going to get it a little bit thicker. And it's going to start to really kind of look like a transition shade rather than just mapping out the crease. And I forgot to do my brow bone shade. I always try to remember to do my brow bone shade right after I set my primer with translucent powder. That's a really good time to throw on some brow bone shade. but I always forget, so I'm going to go ahead and do it now. And I'm dragging it down a little bit as well because I want it to kind of mesh into that transition shade so that they kind of blend in together. It also gives that transition shade something to blend into when you kind of bring it down a little bit. Now I'm going to go back into, and by the way, that was just a bone shade called Bone from Bobbi Brown. Now I'm going to go ahead and take just a little bit more of this bronzer, and I'm going to, I'm barely even touching, I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit more of the transition shade. We're going to dip into the 35V palette today. This is gorgeous. Even though I have a huge stack of Morphe palettes like this big, I decided I still needed this one because look at it. Looks like this. Has the shade names on the plastic insert. And I'm going to dip into this shade right here. It's called In the Zone. And I'm going to use this to draw my crease. I've already drawn one. I'm going to explain kind of how to map it out and draw it on this eye. So as always, you want to look straight ahead. And you want to look at the hood skin fold that folds over your eyelid space. And right above the eyeball right there in the center, you want to make a little mark. And this is going to actually be a couple of millimeters above your natural crease. So the little mark's going to kind of look like that. And then I'm going to start from the inner corner. And I am going to take it round. I'm going to kind of follow the natural shape of my natural crease and the natural contour of the eye. And then when I get down to the bottom, I'm going to kind of flick it out there a little bit. You want to make sure that when you're looking straight ahead, that you can see the crease that you draw. You want to be able to see it with your eyes open, looking straight ahead. Because if you don't take it above your natural crease, if you just like work within your crease and you have hooded eyes, it would be like right in here. And then when I go to open my eyes, the color goes into the abyss, like disappears. So once you have your crease drawn, on both eyes, it's going to look something like this. This one right here. So this is going to be my first transition shade. And I'm going to place this directly above the crease that I drew. Just going to pat it on here. I've been into the tapping technique lately. Just going to pat it on. And then I'm going to start to kind of buff that in. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I could have had a V8. I totally forgot to put on my little headpiece. Hold up. Hold everything. I feel so much better now. Oh my gosh, this was like wigging me out. You know, ever feel like you're off balance and something is just not clicking? That's kind of how I was feeling. All right, I'm feeling much better now. I cannot stand when little hairs like get in your face. Like, I'm a huge updo person. I rarely have my hair down. I'm always in some kind of updo because I can't stand hair on my face. All right, so going back into this turned on shade. All right, I'm going to pick up a little bit of this shade right here. It's called Go Nude. It's a nude beige color. On my blending brush, I'm using a Sigma E40 as my blending brush, and I'm just going to graze the edge of that shade that I just put down. I am barely even touching it. It's amazing how it can look like you're pressing down on it, but you're barely even touching it. And now I'm going to take my blending brush and nothing on it, and I'm just going to buff. And I want to talk about, and I'm going to show you guys how this works, the little magic eraser, and why I always have a blending tool shade or a bone color shade. Sometimes they're one and the same, sometimes they're not. It just kind of all depends on what colors I'm using. Okay, so I'm going to go back into my bone color shade, and the really cool thing about having a ivory or a bone color shade, something that matches your skin tone, is it sort of acts as a little magic eraser. So for me, I'm going to grab this brush here. So for me, when I do a cut crease, I like the shadows that are in or above my crease, I like them to have a little bit of thickness to them. I mean, you see all shapes and sizes for cut creases. I mean, there's wingy ones that kind of wing out. There's domed ones that kind of go more round. There's thinner ones. There's really, really thin, like pencil thin ones. There's some that are really thick, and then there's some that are just like average thick. I kind of like mine to have a little bit of thickness to it. But if you find that the shape kind of gets a little wonky, or it's a little too thick or stubby at the end, whatever the case might be, take your little bone color shade, and this sort of acts as a magic eraser. And I'm going to show you. So I pretty much am happy with the shape that I have, but I'm going to show you how you can size it down. You just take this and just whoosh, and just kind of go down and just bring it down. And now you can see it's a little bit more defined. This also works if you find that somehow your crease shades got up a little too high. You can take your little bone color shade and start at your brow bone and just kind of drag that color down. These little bone color shades are just like little magic erasers. So not only now is it extra blended because that white bone color shade just sort of melted into the other shades, but now it's also a lot more chiseled. Sweeping the edge using a fine eyeliner brush from Dose of Colors. All right, I just went ahead and put in my lower lash line and kind of put back in some of these colors that I used and deepened them up, and just went ahead and reblended. Eyeshadow is a lot of back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It's not just A, B, C, and D. It's A and B, and then back to A, and then to B, and then back to A, and then you add C in, but then you got to go back to B, and then you got to go back to A, and then you add D into the picture, and then you got to go back to C, and then you got to go back to B, and then you got to go back to A, and then you got to blend it all together. Yeah, it is not like just A, B, C, and D. It's a lot of little steps, a lot of back and forth and back and forth. And I'm really bad about forgetting to do my lower lash line when I put in my initial shadows. So I'm just gonna pop in some color here. So I'm probably gonna grab this Wild Child palette from BH Cosmetics. I think I'm gonna take this shade, which is Knockout. And I think I'm gonna grab this shade for sure, which is Tell Me More. I'm going to use this one, and I'm going to use this one, and then I think I'm going to use this peach one in the center. This is going to be fun. It's going to be kind of an ombre. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with, I'm going to put in just a tiny bit of shadow at the base, at the outer maybe quarter of my lid. I just got this new brush. I'm dying to use it. It's Hourglass number 9, little round domed brush. So what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to take a little bit of that deep purple shade just a tiny bit. I'm just going to lay it down on the end here because I'm going to kind of blend in the shimmer shades into this. I'm just going to pack this on here, and then I'm just going to lightly feather it in. All right, I'm going to start with this shade right here, Tell Me More, which is a kind of a pinky purplish. And I'm going to, I may need to spray my brush with some MAC Fix Plus. I may need to use my finger, but let me just see how it looks. Oh, yeah. Wow, I think it blends really nicely and really smoothly without any MAC Fix Plus or without your finger. A lot of shimmers, a lot of times you really need to use your finger just to get the maximum color payoff. And if you really want it to pop, you need to throw on some Fix Plus, but this seems to be blending very smoothly over the NYX shadow base that I used. All right, I'm gonna go into this shade right here. This is a peach shade from the BH Cosmetics Wild Child palette. And I'm just gonna pop that in the center. That NYX eyeshadow base works really well, as you can see with the shimmers here. And I'm going to dip back here now into this one, and I'm just gonna wiggle it back and forth so it kind of fades. To grab this shade right here, I think this one's called Knockout, and I'm going to put that one in the very center. I mean the inner quarter of my eye. All right, I'm going to use my Morphe setting spray as always. Oh my word, this feels like amazing. All right, you guys, that completes the look. I have to rush this because I know that my phone is going to shut off. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye. Mwah.